Coming in at number 10, the backstory. Do you remember when Minecraft used to be a plain old scary, when witches crackled through the walls in your mining tunnels, mysterious ambient noises would give you shivers, and phantom terrorized you with screams from the sky? Those were the days. With the introduction of the Warden in the wild update, players are brave enough to explore the deep dark biomes will soon be in for the new experience. Hold your horse, mobs. Why in the Jeb's name would you make Minecraft scary? And what is the Warden anyway? I hear some of you ask. The Warden is an unstoppable force in nature and a challenge that you must overcome in ways that you may not be used to. The traditional Minecraft gameplay, it's a little bit different, says Brandon Pierce. Vanilla gameplay developer represents a new style of overwhelming obstacles, but you're able to outmaneuver it. You should be able to obtain some interesting rewards. Those rewards surely won't come easy because the Warden is unlike any mob you've ever faced, or technically ever encountered in the world of Minecraft. A hostile and incredibly powerful being that resides in a secluded, all new, deep dark biome sound. And it sounds like, the mob boss is kind of like the Ender Dragon or the Wither, but according to Brandon, it's not. It's definitely the Warden.
In a 9 sentient end frame. While this is absolutely a wild idea, we do need to let ourselves have fun every once in a while, right? Well, Dream and MatPat both pointed out during their shared game theory episode that the Warden seems to have the same colors and shades as an end portal. Dream even said that he would recognize that thing anywhere. And while MatPat brushed it off, does this have any real warrant to it? I mean, is it possible that the Warden came from a sentient end portal frame? Probably not, but maybe the end portal frames came from the Warden. I mean, we know that the Warden portal opened and caused him to kill the Wither, but we also know that they went to the end after the ancient cities, since there is better enchanted gear in the end cities than the ancient ones. So just like natural progression of their society would mean that the end cities come after. But how would they have made the end portal frames? The ones that harness the condensed souls of Endermen and use it to open a portal? Maybe the Sculk catalyst is used for more than just converting experience.
Coming in at number 8, the Warden was a human. The Warden was a griefer with Carmine before he arrived at the Sunshine Institute as a part of the second group of guests, people who Romeo sent to make sure that people who made them extra angry will be well behaved. He became the Warden of the Institute by selling out Carmine, which we know to be the ancient city, but he was human during these times of the olden days. The Warden was bald and had grayish blue eyes. He wore a steampunk eye patch, a military-like suit with a sash, not a stash, a sash. This is where it gets freaky because the Warden is pretty much watching over the so-called Minecraft prison where he became power hungry. The Warden's voice can be heard explaining at the end of the giant consequences, finger quotations, giant consequences, sounding as a calm man who was explanatory and was very observant. But the Warden was calm and was a manipulator and will go to very great lengths, even if it means threatening people to get what he wants. So much to the point, hearing the great consequence, aka the Sculk growth, while people evacuated, the Warden did not. He reached out to the witch and asked her for immortality. Well, Wardy, this is where it comes with a price. You have been evil your whole life. You just want to live, but be warned, you will be feared and twice as strong with a consequence. I don't care, the Warden says. Poof, and the deed is done. After you wake up from your next slumber, your wish will come true. Thus it did. The Warden didn't wake up from a nice nap, but being overrun by the Sculk growth, instead being summoned to the dark abyss to realize he was blind.
And at 7, the Killer Bunny. The Killer Bunny, which is a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, is an aggressive variant of the rabbit exclusive to Java Edition that is hostile towards players, foxes, and wolves. Its fur is pure white and it has blood red eyes that are horizontal compared to the normal rabbit's vertical eyes. It can only be spawned using the /summon rabbit type 99 command, and it appears with a nameplate over its head that reads the Killer Bunny. If the Killer Bunny finds any player within a 16 block radius, it will hop towards them much faster than a normal rabbit. It kind of moves in like a spider kind of style. Once it closes in, it will jump at the player, dealing 4 hearts of damage on normal difficulty. If the player strikes at the Killer Bunny, it will run away for a moment and then return to trying to kill you. Kind of like a baby hoglin. Killer bunnies are also immune to the Thorns enchantment, and isn't that wonderful? This used to be able to spawn naturally, however can now only be summoned using the command I stated prior. And if the player renames a killer bunny to Toast, which is another rabbit trick that will change its skin, it will still attack the player and wolves. So it's not the name that does it, it's something in its code.
Coming in at number 6, fan depiction. Warden NPC looks to be carrying on the Minecraft tradition of disturbing monster design, a fact that was noticed and swiftly capitalized on upon Reddit user Working Elevator 840 in a post shared to Minecraft subreddit. Worker Elevator 840 shows off their interpretation of this hulking Lovecraftian beast. The sketch, which appeared to have been drawn in either ink or pencil, depicts the faceless monster walking forward, surrounded by some sort of dark void. The only other object in the drawing is a small spider, hate spiders, but spider, hanging above the warden's head. Minecraft fan art is nothing new though, but this illustration will definitely leave a lasting impression on many viewers. Warden are one of the more intimidating enemies in the game, and this drawing captures much of that iconic details like the horns, the open torso cavity, and the general dark coloring. Interestingly enough, Working Elevator 840 appears to have taken a few creative liberties with this design, making a giant enemy significantly slimmer and more human-like in its body proportions. The warden in the drawing also looks to be walking more elegantly than it is in its game counterparts, who are blind and have been shown to throw themselves around clumsily. This warden, he's smart. He honestly looks like something from Alien vs Predator. Like that guy, that Working 840 elevator. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but bro, you did a great job, bro.
Halfway through at number 5, Giant Mob. Giant mobs were initially coded into the game, but later removed, probably because, you know, they were a mistake. It's a giant zombie, so yeah. But they still became popular among certain fans who did like to use the mods or commands to actually spawn in these giants. If you do happen to want this spooky random thing in your game, you can just use the summon command. Slash summon giant squiggly squiggly squiggly, and then boom, it's right on your face. Okay, they appear as, like, again, giant zombies, and they're terrifying, but they were actually initially removed after the 1.7 update, and it's considered to have been a mistake to have included them in the first place because they really never had a purpose. Giants simultaneously require a light level greater of 11 and then less than 8 in order to spawn. This effectively makes it impossible for them to spawn at any point, even in mob spawners. Okay, since you know, you can't have something that has a light level higher than 11 but less than 8. That's impossible. Giants are also close to 12 blocks tall and used a 6 times enlarged zombie model. And because giants aren't actually undead, yeah, it's weird. They don't burn in the sunlight, they're damaged by potions of harming and healed by potions of healing. Iron golems do attack them though, like any other hostile mob, but giants don't convert into drowned, which seems fairly understandable, given that, you know, they're not really in the game, so why would they?
Coming in at number 4, a blind stalker. The warden was originally called the Stalker and would reside in the totem-covered biome, where it would remain a statue-like until some reckless player would try to grab its chest crystal, causing it to come to life. So the warden may be something that you will have to face or even explore in the deep dark biome, but the concept was originally intended for the Nether update. We had this in a post-it note for a new biome, and one of the things we wanted to include in it was the blind piglin that could only respond to sound. Brandon explains. But of course, they didn't have time to explore it at the time, but we did end up revising that concept for a blind mob again. When we did a gameplay summit for Caves and Cliffs, I got assigned that note and had come up with the concept that the also scary aspect also proved to be especially important due to its lifelong history in Minecraft, and so it became a central theme in the development of the new mob. Despite its charming exterior reflecting on the game's history, it made very evident that the horror part of Minecraft's DNA, the feeling of stepping down into the depths of the dark cave for the first time, hearing the clink of a skeleton's bones or a zombie anguish growls, all of these aspects create an experience that probes your imagination.
And at 3, Original Strider. Now, while the Strider may be in the game thanks to the Nether 1.16 update, the original design for the Strider was the stuff of nightmares. The Nether is home to some of the most fearsome monsters you can find in Minecraft. Piglins, blazes, ghasts, and my cousin Bob, who refuses to share any of the ancient debris he finds on our adventures. And as his name suggests, Bob is evil incarnate, so he's in good company. The Nether is crawling with hostile mobs who won't hesitate to make you into pudding if given the chance. However, there is an exception. An adorable adorable anomaly that couldn't care less about you, me, or Bob. We call this happy little accident the Strider. And while the current design may be the most adorable thing in Minecraft aside from pigs, the early Strider concept is absolutely terrifying to look at. The original design by Jabster Borstra is the stuff of nightmares, and I'm glad that they changed it prior to 1.16's release. And while the Grandpa and Grandma Strider designs, as Mojang calls them, are closer to what they are today, I'm still glad they didn't use them because they're also pretty creepy.
Coming in a recent developer diary, Mojang briefly explains how the warden's rage and anger help shape the creature's design and behavior in Minecraft. The wild update, while the underground creatures are legitimately frightened, some players are also successfully retexturing them to look even scarier. In a recent developer diary, Mojang briefly explained how warden's rage and anger help shape the creature's design. Although Mojang did not offer a brief look at the warden's design, the creature's origin is still a complete mystery, and that a foundation of the popular game theorist MatPat couldn't resist on speculating. In one of his latest videos, MatPat tries to theorize about the warden's mystery origins in Minecraft by examining every asset added to the game with the Wilds update. According to the theorist, the creature was mistakenly summoned by the soldiers who tried to open an escape portal, but instead let these monsters back into Minecraft's overworld dimension.
Finally, in at number 1, the Wither. It's also proposed that the ancient race of builders actually ended up being saved from the Wither by the Warden, hence the mention of killing the Wither. But on Disc 5, you can actually hear the Wither slowly blasting its way down into the depths of the earth, until eventually it breaks through into the ancient city, after which a portal, seemingly the structure in the middle of the city, is lit. However, instead of going through, something instead comes out. The Skulk, including the Scream of the Warden, which if you can pay close enough attention to, also contains the Scream of a Wither dying. As to what the ancient builders did with the Nether Star, no idea. They might have just let it despawn, if you want to use game terms, and then they maybe tried living amongst the Skulk, hence the wool, but then eventually realized that, yeah, that wasn't gonna happen, and then they got wiped out, or they fled into the end. Who knows? No one, because it's just a theory, a Minecraft theory. In a 10 first use fail. In Bedrock Edition, one of the mistakes or bugs in the game that you'll likely have seen is the one where you're not playing Java. Wait, sorry, wrong thing. This one is actually if you create a tool, the first time you go to use it, it actually won't work somehow. Why is this? No idea, really. I'm guessing that it's because that it needs to warm up something or first, something like that. I guess what I mean is the game hasn't registered you actually having made and actually holding the item for whatever reason. It's a very strange bug, but the good news is the second time you try to use it, it'll be fine. It'll work properly. This bug is more strange than annoying or scary or game breaking, but definitely could be considered a weird mistake that was left in the game. And you know what most bugs and glitches are. You won't see that in Java Edition though, just saying, okay? We have our own game breaking bugs. And at 9, hand glitches. In Bedrock Edition, there were initially some pretty creepy things happening when it came to how your hands interacted with items. Things like food, shield, tools, pickaxes, weapons, and stuff like that, and bows. They would move in strange positions on screen, going far off to the side or just disappearing completely. This would also affect your visuals when it came to holding a shield and crouching because, you know, that's how you block in Bedrock. Because the placement of the items seemed to bug out whenever you tried to hold them. Okay, crouching with a shield would therefore mean that the shield would appear to be larger and blocking more of your screen, which is not a good thing if you couldn't really tell, okay? Not only are these glitches annoying because, you know, they're screwy and it's not what you should be seeing, but they're also pretty creepy because, you know, your arms are giant and now they're also gone. So yeah. Java Edition, people. In at 8, duplicating items. One of the first glitches that actually had everyone talking about, well, duplicating at least, was back in 1.17, and it was a damaged anvil duplication glitch, okay? This glitch allowed you to duplicate any, and I mean any item that you wanted using a damaged anvil, a bunch of inconsequential identical items, and then whatever you wanted to duplicate. You can even duplicate the most valuable items in the game and then do so in a stack. In other words, you could just grab a stack of diamonds or netherite and then duplicate those on repeat and exponentially grow your stash. Until your anvil breaks at least, which has a predicted 12% chance of happening with this glitch as well. So it's not like inevitable, but it's a 12% chance every time. It's weird, okay? The possibilities at this point are endless. You could duplicate anything, even like literally god apples or anything you wanted. The only limit is your imagination. There's something similar in the game now as well, or at least it was, okay? It was in the game, I'm not quite sure if it is now, but it requires putting a load of specific text into a written book, putting that book into a chest in a chunk, and then having a system that involves using that chunk to duplicate items, because due to that book, there's so much data in that chunk that it can't really save it properly, and it reverts it back to a previous state, which would contain the book along with whatever items you had placed in that specific chunk. So you could also use that to duplicate things. It got really complicated, alright? It used to be so simple. And it's 7 Skulk Golem. Or perhaps this warden is merely a more powerful iron golem that is made from skulk. I mean, we can see what looks like skulk infused golems in the poster for Minecraft Legends, and the warden is very similar to an iron golem, at least silhouette wise. They both have long arms that are longer than they should be, a wide midsection, and short stumpy legs. I mean, the warden is taller than an iron golem, but he's also more powerful than an iron golem, so it makes sense. Iron golems do attack wardens, but maybe it's an inferiority complex kind of thing, you know? Yeah, you might get it. Especially when the warden can somehow fit in a 3x1 tunnel and the golem needs his full body width as well as a 3-block height to be able to go anywhere. I mean, it would make sense for the ancient builders to make a more powerful golem to defend against the wither, especially when it was barreling down towards them, blowing its way through deep slate and stone, and with something that can even destroy obsidian, what else can you do? Maybe it started off as a golem that was taken over by the skulk and then converted for its own means. Maybe they built a golem, lit the portal to escape, and then the skulk came through and took it over. It does make a form of sense. And it's 6 Fistful of Blocks, or rather, I guess, a lack thereof. This mistake that pops up in Minecraft 1.17 and sometimes later still seems to prevent you from grabbing blocks that should be in your range, okay? It's a visual glitch, but like when breaking blocks that like you're standing on or maybe that are above you, it appears as though you should be able to grab them because you know they're laying on the ground right next to your feet and you know you don't have a full inventory. If you are fast enough, you try to pick them up, but then they keep glitching up and then falling back down as if they're in an infinite falling loop. And yeah, it's weird, and your reaction is usually to break the block underneath it, but even if you try to grab that block after such, you can't. It'll fall down, but you can't grab it. It's weird, but I mean, it's still in the game, and all you gotta do, it just got caught on something up higher, okay? So you just gotta look up, break the block that it would be on, and then you can pick it up. I don't know, okay? I don't get it. I don't know why this is a thing. I don't know why it's still a thing. We're in Minecraft 1.19, alright? We've been doing this for 10 plus years. Can we please just get this fixed? It's so annoying. Mojang, please. Okay, you can add frogs, that's fine, but can they like grab my items when they actually should be on the ground but aren't? Can they like grab them and then be like, here you go, okay? Can they do like an allay thing, but like just specifically when it's glitched? Please, for the love of God. Halfway through into number 5, Pink Wither. The Pink Wither, or Friendly Wither, was a recurring April Fool's mob present in both Java Edition 2.0 and Snapshot 15W14A. In 2.0, the Pink Wither could be summoned by placing a potted rose on top of a pink wool. The newly spawned mob would only have one head, and the Pink Wither would follow players that were holding sugar. Feeding it sugar would cause it to grow more heads, up to a maximum of 3, like the Wither. As the Pink Wither moves, it also applied an effect similar to bone meal on surrounding blocks. It would also heal other mobs. The area affected also increased with the number of heads. That mob was a hostile undead mob. In 15W14A, the Pink Wither actually replaced the normal Wither, firing skulls with a bone meal effect. Unlike the Wither though, Pink Wither did not drop a nether star upon death in 15W14A. It was removed after both the versions it was present in, including the snapshot, which is unfortunate. We could really use another boss, honestly. And for breaking bedrock. Bedrock in survival mode is intended to be an unbreakable material, unless you happen to be using cheats, because, I mean, why wouldn't you? Yogg's cast guarantee. There's a few people who understand that, and I appreciate you for it. But even though it was never intended to be breakable without, you know, cheating, there are ways to actually break it. And it's not really breaking it, it's kind of just like transporting it out of existence. I'm not talking about super strength, okay? I'm talking about exploiting in-game glitches to just somehow evaporate the block in its entirety. There are a few different methods that are deemed usable currently, okay? One, I believe, is like TNT, trapdoor, and piston method, which is the one that I've used in the past. Another one involves using portals with clay, small drip leaves, bone meal, and shears, and another involves powdered snow. I don't know those two though, so you're gonna need to look them up. Bedrock was never meant to be broken, and yet exploiting these glitches means that you can do so. Pretend that the blocks never existed, which is insane. And obviously though, So do this with caution, otherwise, you'll fall into the void and somehow die without really knowing what killed you, and then you'll lose all your stuff. Yeah, what is the void though? That is a very interesting question. Getting close to the end of number 3, condensed souls. Skulk is known to contain souls. This is fairly evident. Skulk blocks hold XP that you can get by breaking it with a hoe. No, not that one. Skulk catalyst turns souls into skulk, and skulk shriekers have souls swimming around them that literally scream whenever they hear anything. And even the warden has souls in its chest. So could the warden just, instead of being a golem or an allay or something like that, just be a mass of hundreds of souls? Which is what would make him so tough and terrifying, especially considering my theory about how the warden can see your soul, since like through 12 meters of solid stone there should be no way that a warden could smell or hear me if I'm sneaking, yet he's still able to nearly one-shot me. And again, I was capturing one on a live stream, I was flying around on an elytra over 30 blocks away, dude could still see me. So yeah, the warden being a condensed soul amalgam monster would definitely make sense. But ultimately, in number 2, creepers. This one is actually very well known, which is why it's not number 1. However, it's still an incredibly interesting and crazy fact despite that, which is why it's at number 2. When creepers were actually originally made, they weren't intentional. The way Notch programmed in all the original code, he didn't use modeling programs. He just input the dimensions into the code of the game itself. So when he was creating creepers, he messed up the dimensions of the creature that he was intending to be a pig. He ended up flipping the length and the height, which is why creepers have 4 feet. However, Notch liked the design of the creature so much, he decided to embrace it, making them a little taller, and voila, creepers were a thing. But still, originally, these terrifying, iconic Minecraft monsters started out as just a coding error. Another fun fact though, the texture for the creeper is actually just the original leaf block without any transparency, hence the seemingly random white pixels that are actually across its body. Those were where it would have been transparent, but he saved it as a JPEG instead of a PNG. Yeah, Notch took the model, threw a face on it, threw the leaf texture on it, and then boom, pun very much intended. Like what, did you think that it wouldn't be intended? You should all know me by now. You should all know me better than that. And if you don't know me better than that, obviously you need to hit subscribe. You haven't been watching enough Top 10 Gaming, alright? Do it.
Please like and subscribe.
And finally, in at number 1, phasing through bedrock. Incredible past segue for you to subscribe aside. Phasing through bedrock is not usually something seen as a good thing in either edition of the game. And even outside of that edition, it's considered a kind of odd choice in comparison with breaking bedrock. However, there can be a few specific times that phasing through is preferred to actually trying to break it, especially because trying to break it can be finicky. You can actually phase through bedrock in multiple different ways, such as using a boat or a ladder with an ender pearl, or maybe just a well-placed ender pearl, and maybe not even needing the ladder. Although the second method will damage you a bit because, it's an ender pearl. All you really need to do though is just make sure that you have clear intentions and you're actually prepared before this, because moving through bedrock leaves you on the roof of the nether where you can't get back down. And if you're unprepared, there's gonna be no way for you to get back except death, which is gonna suck if you're playing on hardcore mode, because it just becomes the end of your world. Unless you're somehow able to get some piglins and then trade with them for enough obsidian to actually build a portal home. And if you're lucky enough, you can get it in 3 to 4 trades, but that means that you'd have to have enough gold on you as well as some blocks for the piglins to spawn on, given that they can't actually spawn on the bedrock itself. So, you know what, just be careful, and then hopefully you bring a way out with you rather than just hoping to get lucky, because trust me, that's not gonna work out well, and that's not a joke. No, seriously, don't do it. Have a plan, okay? God.
And at 10, Pigman. A pigman is a pig in a humanoid form that originally were going to inhabit villages. Although not implemented, their skin can be found within the game files, and their zombified counterpart, the zombie pigmen, now known as zombified piglins, have been a part of the nether since the Minecraft Alpha 1.2.0 Halloween update. It has the same dimensions as the player and has no coding present within the game that spawns it. Minecraft user Miss Lee was the one who came up with the idea for the pigman, and as a reward was given the bacon cape as a thank you. However, when more people started requesting custom capes, Notch took Miss Lee's cape away so that people would stop asking. Way to go, people, ruining the whole damn thing for this guy. Damn. Notch mentioned on April 25th, 2011 that he might add pigmen as villaging townspeople, but in beta 1.9 a different villager mob was introduced. Regular pig models were also changed in beta 1.8 to have a protruding snout, but this doesn't really matter since now the pigmen are known as piglins and are an entirely new thing. Although these pigmen were also present in Pocket Edition, at least at the time of its release. I don't know if they're still in it now. In at 9, Diamond Chicken. Diamond chickens are like something a hacker would spawn into a server
creeper for like a YouTube video or something. Diamond chickens were a rare variant of chickens presented in the April Fool's Java Edition 2.0 that lays lapis lazuli or diamonds instead of eggs. Diamond chickens spawn under normal chicken spawning conditions, but not as commonly. I'd hope so. And since chickens were modified in 2.0 to display neutral behavior, diamond chickens were also neutral, but the thing is that they explode when aggravated, making them like potentially passive versions of creepers. They just look like a blue tinted version of a chicken as well. Nothing special about them other than that and what they lay. You couldn't make them look like a diamond block or something. You really had to make them just slightly blue. That's kind of lame, honestly, but since they explode, I'm gonna say that this counts as a monster. The term monster is being used kind of broadly here. The mob was removed after the April Fool's update of Minecraft 2.0, and honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that they did remove it, because that would be kind of cool. We're not even at like 1.20, let alone 2.0, so. And at 8, the Smiling Creeper. The Smiling Creeper looks like a regular creeper, however the iconic creeper mouth is flipped, so it's upside down and looks like it's smiling. The creeper will also explode when close to a player, but will explode into poppies. The poppies could also not be picked up when they were on the ground. It's unknown if the Smiling Creeper did damage, since it was a part of the April Fool's 2.0 update, however getting hit with poppies in the face when they're flying at you from an explosion would definitely hurt. So I feel like it would cause the same amount of damage as a creeper, maybe slightly less, but it would actually have to deal damage, right? I feel like this creeper also was inspired by the Mo Creepers mod from back in the day. That mod introduced things like the dirt creeper that would explode and just create a ball of dirt around where it exploded and a whole bunch of other stuff. This creeper was removed after the 2.0 update. And it's 7 mystery items. Something that is strange that used to happen quite frequently in terms of mistakes being left was when developers would just forget that during updates to remove items from spawned players, meaning that when players updated their game, they would often spawn and notice that they had like strange and random items across their inventory. This is very common when you update a mod pack. This was because developers didn't really have commands that they could use for the items when playing around with the development stage, so instead they would just like equip the item to players and then they would spawn with the items that the devs were experimenting with. However, when they forgot to take this out of the code before the update, this translated to you spawning with just a mishmash of items and yeah, being no idea where they came from. It also got to a point where, according to the lead designer, they would have to actually create a release document with a reminder note to remove these items prior to actually releasing the update. Yeah, it's not the same thing as a mod pack, but that was the closest analogy that I could have. You know, like when you have a load of stuff, but then you remove that mod and then all of a sudden it all becomes sand. Yeah, that's what it's like. And it's 6, humans. Humans, known as monsters in the code, were the first mob ever added into the game. These hostile mobs looked identical to players with the Steve default skin. Human mobs would also generate in random places when a world was generated at pre-classic edition, a long time ago. Later, they could be manually spawned by pressing G while playing in classic mode. After both of these features were removed, they were only able to spawn using mods and map editors, but otherwise were not available in vanilla Minecraft. Humans did not drop anything when they died, and they moved in an absolutely absurd fashion. The best way I can describe it is it's like when someone who knows that they're drunk starts running away from the group to cause trouble or chaos. Well, that's the best way I can describe this running animation, or I guess it's the walking animation of the human mob. It's hilarious and something I really wish was still in the game. This is how every player should move, honestly. I'm sure that there's a mod that makes you see this animation that's like client side so that you can use it on servers, like how Optifine is client side. Yeah, I really hope that's a thing. The human mob was removed prior to the alpha release of the game and is the actual culprit of the removed herobrine message that was present within the patch notes. This is the mob that they actually removed parts of the code at, and that's what they were referencing when they said removed herobrine. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's actually pretty cool. Halfway through into number 5, the Nether Guardian. This is again a wild one, but hear me out. This is probably not the case, but again, gotta have some fun every once in a while. Well, what put me on this path of thinking was actually wither skeletons. Because MatPat and others on Reddit have proposed the idea that maybe these are the bodies of fallen builders, buried in or absorbed by the soul sand that we know as faces of souls trapped inside. The skeletons left over would then be burnt from the harsh climate of the Nether, or the blazes could have just burnt them because, you know, again, they're skeletons. And I mean, like, having to fight off reincarnated skeletons that were formerly family is kind of messed up. And this could also be how they discovered the unique properties of soul sand, and then this leads them to accidentally summoning the wither, and then, you know, the rest. But we know that Wardens and Skulk have the ability to also manipulate and use souls. Wardens have souls on their chest in the exact same place that soul sand faces have, except it's just mirrored. Like if you take it and flip it horizontally, it lines up perfectly. So what if the Warden either came from the Nether, or since the texture is flipped, its own dimension is simply a mirrored version of the Nether? No. In at 4, Redstone Bug. Redstone Bug was a hostile mob present in Java Edition 2.0. Redstone bugs spawned close to redstone that was rapidly changing between signal strengths or because you were mining redstone ore. But it could also be found spawning in strongholds. Redstone bugs are pretty much just reskinned silverfish, so they share all of their behavior, which I have to admit is really annoying because I hate silverfish. And this is mostly because of the nightmare difficulty from Fundy. I was playing it with some friends and we found a stronghold very quickly, so we set up a base camp nearby. However, we dug one silverfish block, and thanks to the nightmare difficulty, anytime you damaged them, the silverfish multiplied, which was horrible, and since they were in our base, they were spawn camping us. I ended up having to somehow use a command to kill them all before I died, and when I did, it killed around 1,300 silverfish. Now I actually despise them. Absolutely 100%, I hate them. The redstone bugs, however, would spawn in many different colors based on this redstone signal strength. That's actually kind of cool though. But lucky enough, they didn't actually keep them in the game, otherwise Mumbo's whole peace, love, and plants thing wouldn't really work, because he would have to kill a lot of bugs. Getting close to the end in number 3, phantom mobs. While phantom mobs have never been explicitly considered a mistake by the devs, many fans of Minecraft feel as though their creation was. The reason for that is that in order to avoid the phantoms, you need to sleep at least once every 3 days, which many feel gets in their way of in-game progress, which is weird, but either way, it's incredibly annoying. If you do avoid sleeping because you work all night or you're underground or something, your progress will still be affected by the phantoms who then spawn on the surface and try to attack you unless you have a solid block over your head. But you can also turn off the do insomnia rule in game, and then you just don't have to deal with them. They were just a mistake to add. Why would you do this? Okay, just pick one of the other things next time. God, like we always pick the stupidest mobs. Okay, we pick the phantoms. We pick the freaking glow squid over the moo bloom. Who does that? What's wrong with this community? I don't know. I'm always gonna be mad about the moo bloom. Okay, that would have been the best mob in the game, but you had to go and ruin it. And ultimately, in at number 2, giant. Giants are unused, oversized mobs that just look like zombies. They previously only spawned naturally in InDev. No biome includes giants in their spawn lists, so they can never spawn naturally. The earliest available InDev build that you can access on the launcher also does not include giants in the global spawn list unless you're using mods. Additionally, giants simultaneously require a light level greater than 11 and less than 8 in order to spawn. This effectively makes it impossible for them to appear through mob spawners because, you can't have something higher than 11 but less than 8, Giants are close to 12 blocks tall, and they use a 6 times enlarged zombie model as their model because it's just a giant zombie. However, giants aren't actually considered undead, so they don't burn in sunlight and are actually damaged by potions of harming. Iron golems will also attack giants like they attack any other hostile mob. Giants also don't convert into drowned, which I think would be hella funny if they did. Like imagine a giant drowned. That would actually be pretty cool. Giants also have no AI, and the consequence of this is that they always face south when they're summoned and stay that way, never wandering, turning their head, chasing the player, and they only actually move when something hits them. And they can only be spawned using the command /summon Minecraft Giant, or with mods. Finally, in at number 1, Nerd Creeper. The Nerd Creeper is probably the most confusing thing on this list, but it needs a little backstory. 3D Shareware version 1.34 is an April Fool's joke released in 2019, officially called Minecraft 3D. This version has many references to video gaming from the 90s, and this release is a fork of the game version 19W13B. According to the developers, Minecraft 3D Shareware version 1.34 is an old version of Minecraft released on April 1st, 1994, which is absolutely impossible because Minecraft that only came around in 2011, at least officially released. And this version apparently only had a handful of copies that were ever made, one of which was discovered amongst the rubble laying in the basement of Mojang's old offices. It was said to be a masterpiece of its time, featuring cutting-edge technology that won many awards, although this is all part of the joke. It's like they tried to create a creepypasta that wasn't Herobrine because they were sick of hearing it. In this version of Minecraft, the creeper was given an NBT tag called BD20 that would either be 1 or 0, cause you know, binary, and that this would determine, quote, whether the creeper is a nerd. That's literally it. That's all the wiki says. Nothing else. No explanation as to what that would mean or how it's handled or even if they look different. Maybe we should do like a whole list on Minecraft 3D features, because that whole thing, that's a whole other can of worms. Would you be interested in that? Let me know in the comments.